turn with the imam. Of course, I realised now talking to you, of course she was told that because it's part of the Shia mind scale. It's interesting, it's very interesting.
Do we get a boom? Do we get a boom? I don't know.
But dear old Graham, he was obsessed with it. I remember now,
Actually, go.
yesterday.
Yeah. We're live.
And I brought it up.
We're alive! Oh yeah, we're alive! It's alive! Boom! Yeah, it's working. Ladies, gentlemen, boys, girls, and ones that twirl in between boys and girls. Welcome to the Australian Poetry Hall of Fame on Thundercloud. Mum calls me James. Washing away the garbage, leaving rainbows after rains. Welcome once again to Wednesday Words Open Mic Poetry Night, and we've moved back out of the Seahorse Medicine Cafe
Into summertime.
Yeah, I know. Back into front of this beautiful mural by Tony Timor up there. What a fantastic artist he is to do this. Yeah. Right, tonight we've got a bit of a change in the format. We're going to start with a bit of recitation to begin with. And I wanted to, encourage our poets to level up our performance at poetry, because it's not just about writing, it's also about our delivery. And the one I'm going to be doing is This Quiet Dust Was Gentlemen and Ladies. But first, when I wrote for myself, and I guess we can all take a bit out of this with our poetry and our life. It's called Pauses. Pauses improve poetry delivery. Interrupt anger. Impregnate moments of self-reflection. Pauses assist in the course of nature, but never interfere in it. A pause is never really there. A pause is nothing. That's it. So, yeah, poetry delivery, that doesn't have to all come out like blah, 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 blah. One of the greatest American poets who was not recognised in her life, but after her life, was Emily Dickinson. Now, I don't know if this story is true, but apparently in her life she used to do this poem. She would pick up a handful of dust off the floor. This quiet dust was gentlemen and ladies and lads and girls. It was laughter and ability and sighing and frocks and curls. This passive place, a summer's nimble mansion where bloom and bees fulfilled their oriental circuit, then ceased like these. All right, Ashley.
How can dust be these?
Yeah, exactly. These. It was gentlemen and ladies, lads and girls. Yeah.
Oh. The white moon sets behind the white wave. Very short. Robbie Burns said that long ago. The white moon sets behind the white wave, and time is setting with me. Oh. Wow. Oh. I didn't bring that along to do that with Robbie Burns, but it fitted the poem.
Wonderful. Sky. Sky Campen, everybody. Welcome, Sky.
My true love is I, me, myself, and Sky.
Ah, very interesting.
Lovely. Thank you very much, Sky.
Wow.
Doug, have you got yours? Are you ready?
Yeah, but I'm not quite ready.
Okay.
But I've got.
All right. Well,
No,
I've
I'm ready.
got. All right. Good. Well, I got a filler while we're getting ready.
I'm trying to avoid it.
Okay. All right. Well, here we go. Here we go. Quick. A filler. Here we go. It's not belly button stuff. Okay. Come on, James.
I could try half of one.
Do the one-legged
Yeah.
Stockman. I always love.
Shakespeare.
Oh, I haven't got it.
I always love the one-legged Stockman.
So, hum. I am that I am. Dust, earth, air, water, fire, ether. I am that. The stars, sun, galaxies, and further. I am that. That you are too. You are that. I am that. So,
Wow.
Mmm.
Nobody's saying hello or anything like that, so they just get into it. They don't care who's out there, do they?
Oh, we love them.
Yeah, no, but they don't care that much. I mean, we don't care.
Oh, we do
They might be cheering or anything, but good evening if you're there.
Give us the thumbs up.
I'm here.
Yeah.
Where's you? And you.
1, 2, 3, 4. It's the biggest audience. It's the biggest audience we've had for a while.
Pity the kids can't sing something. Bad to the entertainment. Oh!
Holy
There's a whole bunch here tonight. How's it all going? G'day, Doug.
Just in time, brother.
Mate, Justin, what you got happening over there?
I'm in survival.
We better find somewhere to sit down. Hello, how are you, Sky? Hey, g'day, James. How are you, man?
All right.
It's all
Could
interesting.
you give me the go? When
Yeah,
All
go.
interesting.
Any more interruptions?
No.
I finished that.
Is that a guarantee? It's all right. No, I've got the lawyer now because I heard that I was supposed to learn something.
It's not a guarantee.
What's that? I heard that.
Isabel necessary on the door? Could be.
I'm Mr. Patient.
No, her name's Isabel, so Isabel's
Isabel,
necessary on the door.
Yeah, I was asked, or I think I was trying to learn something and just to say it without reading it. And I had a bit of a go. And all I know is that for me to pressure anything, it's not real easy. I can easily drop into negative or criticism or dark. But for me to just learn something like at school. Anyway, I had a bit of a go. But I learned it perfect a couple of days ago and I've forgotten it already. So you're going to have to allow me a bit of a cheat sheet.
It's all right.
But I'm going to read it with passion.
Beautiful.
Trust me. God, what a preamble. What a preamble. Okay. No, but this is a bit of Henry Lawson, and I've read him before, and I know, well, I believe I've read a bit before, and he certainly touches my heart. And Henry came back from England about 1900 after a drama was over there, and he wrote a poem called The Cliffs. Some of you will have it. So I picked a couple of stanzas out of it. I might be able to get a little bit out without reading this thing. Oh, the cliffs. See, I get the mental block.
The cliffs are there, we can feel them, so go on. Yeah, I can almost feel the wind.
You know where the cliffs are? They're not the inland bullshit cliffs. These are on the ocean. Real cliffs.
Yeah, real.
And even Henry says that.
None of that shit stuff. Proper cliffs.
All right, well, I checked the cliffs are old and the cliffs are sad. And they know me sane. I'll get that out. And they know me sane. What's the next bit? While men deem me mad. Everyone's nodding.
They're good lines.
They know me sad while men deem me mad.
They're good lines. They're simple, powerful.
Bloody men, they judge it, don't they?
Yeah.
Anyway, it's still about cliffs. And they... Oh, shit. And the cliffs are firm and the cliffs are strong. And they know me right while men know me wrong. It's touching my heart. Sorry I'm going all over the place. Anyway, one more stanza you're going to have to put up with. And sometimes I think in the dawning grey, I'm as old as they. I'm as old as they. And I think in the field and town, help me with the last line, in the field and town, that my spirit shall live till the cliffs come down.
Oh, great. I didn't know about that.
He was a good writer, wasn't he?
Oh, yeah, he is.
Thank you.
Underrated poet.
Thank you very much, Doug. Hey, welcome, Steve. Welcome, Isabel. Just a quick question. Have you got one to recite off the top of your head, either of you? All right. Well, we got this Steve over here who's going to do it.
I don't know if I'll be able to get all the way through it, but I get started.
But that's fantastic. Yeah, go for it.
All right, this is a soliloquy from Hamlet. To be or not to be? That is the question. Whether it is noble in the mind to suffer the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune, or to take arms against a sea of troubles, and by opposing, end them. To die, to sleep, no more. And by a sleep to say we end 1,000 natural shocks that flesh is heir to, 'tis a consummation devoutly to be wished, to die, to sleep. To sleep. Perchance to dream. Aye, there's a rub. For in that sleep of death, what dreams may come once we have shuffled off this mortal coil, must give us pause, and make us rather bear those ills we have, than fly to others that we know not of.
Very beautiful, very, very beautiful. Well delivered. Fantastically delivery, actually. Thank you. That's great. Yeah. Wow. Powerful. Hey, look, I set this challenge to some of the poets here to try and memorise something this week and just to, level up. And here's something I wrote for encouragement for all of you, most for myself as well. Someone needs to hear it, maybe many, maybe few. I haven't reached my full potential. There's more potential in all of you. In this world we become what about us we believe, think you're smart or dumb, that's what you'll achieve. You've dreams, take action, set a goal, make a plan, take a step, make traction to be a conscious human. Focus on your purpose, you'll see what you'll create, you'll get what you deserve. You deserve a life that's great. You haven't reached your full potential, neither have I. This is elemental. You'll fly before you die. Climb a mountain or a hill, finish off your book. It only takes your will. In the mirror you can look. Self-reflect, don't hide, follow all your dreams. Go on a long train ride or lead a camel team. There's a bit more, hang on. But someone needs to hear it. There's more that you can do. Time to raise your spirit. Do what you'd love to do. I'll say it one more time. It is elemental. Everything will be fine. You have much potential. Motivational for years old. You all have much potential. Everybody has potential, unrealised. Yeah. Okay, and here we go. Gladys has got something for us.
Right, okay. Right, well this is a road map of life, I think. Our lives are like a road map, with many twists and turns. As we follow this winding pathway, there's still much more to learn. But our journey in life, of course, is a challenge that's now placed in our hands to guide us through good and bad times as this great universe expands. Right, that's what that
Well, look.
Thank you.
And it's great to see Gladys improving in her delivery so much and her poetry and keeping on writing like it's never too late to start. That's the thing, like being, whether it's writing or painting or drawing or doing anything or even making money from your art. That's actually a good idea, isn't it? Yeah. All right. So, who's got a card? Have you got anything for us tonight, Isabel? No. Okay. All right. Well, okay. We're going to. Steve, have you got a?
Oh, hey, I've got one off.
Oh, okay. So we've got a recital of one poem, and then we'll get into the full-on open mic after this.
And really,
Dear.
I really just want to spin this bit of a yarn because it's about a fella called Billy Hayes from out near Alice Springs. Now, Billy Hayes was a bit of a character. He'd done all sorts of crazy things. He'd ridden bulls over fences and a colt up Ayers Rock. His legs weren't built for walking, they were built for riding stock. Well, Billy, every sort of thing, every equestrian sort of thing, well, he'd been in all sorts of things. He'd done the whole lot, see. The only thing he wasn't willing to do was bloody fly. If he was supposed to fly, he'd have a beak and wings. And there's one thing that he wasn't going to do, is fly in one of them things. He said you could waste a day and fly if you want. I'll waste a week and I will bloody drive. Anyway, he gets a call from his mate. He's put his girlfriend up the duff. And he says, I don't care if you beg, borrow or steal it. You got to get to Adelaide because you're the best man. And tomorrow's the special day. Well, Billy said, you bloody coot. He said, I can ride anything out of a chute. But put me on a bloody plane, I don't know. Anyway, he rolls up to the receptionist at the counter there, and she says, where would you like to sit? He says, you know that little black box thing, the thing they always find? You can sit me right inside it if you don't bloody mind. She gave a little smirk, and she sort of, a little smile, and she says, I'll take your bag if you don't mind. He said, bloody bag, that's not a bag, that's my swag, if you don't mind, and I'll keep it with me. He tucks the thing between the seat, and, oh, this flying things, they'd taken off across this tarmac, and everything was sweet. There's a sound across the radio, there's turbulence up ahead. And he says to the air stewardess, what's turbulence? She said it's made by pockets of heat. And you better tie your seatbelt, it'll knock you out your seat. He said, I've written everything that's come in Northern Territory style, and he sticks his hand between the strap and buckles on. Well, the plane, it rose 10,000 feet and dropped 500 more. He'd hit the ceiling with his head, and his arse had hit the floor. There was blood coming out of his bugle. He was a bloody mess. And he bucked his way all up to first class. And all the first class passengers were quite astounded at this man riding this swag. And it stopped. And he was laid out flat. What a bloody mess. Well, he got up, he grabbed the toolie, and he wandered back to his seat. And he tucked his swag between his feet, down between his seat. He's over this here flying stuff. He's over bucking too. The money wasn't that good, and he'd broken plenty few. Every now and then, when people say, and he's bragging about his style, he says, you've done nothing till you've bucked turbulence at 30,000 feet.
When did you write that?
I didn't write that.
Oh, you didn't?
That is by Murray Houtman.
Ah,
It's called Turbulence.
Okay.
Wow.
got your style though.
All right. Well, we're going to move into the main bit now. We're going to invite Ashley up in a minute. I've been on a bit of a Taoist journey over the last week or so. So this is what came out. 5 stanzas, and they go a bit like that in their form. So it's a bit of a form poem. Earth. We must be born of the earth. Our homes from our birth. We know no other place than here. Back to earth at the end. Just like you, my friend, we all disappear into dust. Air. We breathe, inhale the air surrounding us, infinite source everywhere, with greatest of ease. Exhaling the air, we breathe. Air. Water. We flow as rivers snake, never grasping, let go. As the rain falls, give thanks. Once dry beds now flow over banks. Water is life of everyone we know. An ocean, the seas, lake, waters, flow, rain, hail, snow. Fire, desire to burn, unmitigated lust, spontaneously combust, erupt, burst into flames, decarboxylation, another name for a flame, redhead, fire, ether, ethereal. Do I ever feel you, sense you, taste you, smell you? I can't show you, but know you, ethereal, brew. That's it. Ashley, come on around. Come on down. Come on up.
Yeah, well, give me a moment.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
A moment.
To collect my thing.
Yes,
Well, while you're
Yes, I'm nearly there.
while you're momentising, because pause is always good. One of the things I would love to do here is have a national poetry competition, performance poetry competition, a video poetry competition, and a writing poetry competition national. So I just want to put out a call out for sponsors of the Australian Poetry Hall of Fame national poetry competition next year. So I'm looking at like sponsors for like $10,000 and stuff like that. Big money, because it's important. So if you know any really big sponsors who want to get involved and donate $10,000 annually to or even once off to a big poetry competition, yeah, let them know about us.
In an era of depression and recession, we need expression. Yes?
Yes.
Yes. Come on, everybody. Yes. And that brought to life my three friends, my three rulers. I did a course in memory and took some drugs for memory, medically prescribed. So I remember now, HIP or HIT, take your pick, hypothesis, implication and parameter. Or, if you're mad, Isaac Newton, hypothesis, implication and test. I had fun doing that. I love my rulers and they love me. I will read another poem of Geoffrey Dutton's tonight, and a short story I wrote, thinking I'd sit in the park and write it in warmth. And I didn't sit in the park at Gyra and write it in the cold, but I didn't sit in the park and write it in warmth. But I thought I had a dead battery. So I went for a drive to stir up my electricity in my battery, and the beauty of Gyra is the slopes of land and the sets of clouds. It's an ineffably beautiful place. I thought this may interest you. Interested me. I don't know if it comes up on that distance, but it's a postcard of happy tourists coming to commune with each other in the waterfalls of New England, I think put together in about 1930, and has a certain beauty. Well, I finished Helen Spencer's Clara Morrison, and I'm a different Australian for having digested it. I was surprised that when they went off to the goldfields, by hook or by crook, they tried to get, and it relates to our rendition of to be or not to be. Notice I said or, not to be. But I should have said to be and not to be. Whenever they could, they tried to get a collected Shakespeare to take with them to the diggings. And the other thing I noticed, if anyone reads this, that will haunt me till the day I die, is that she makes reference on occasion to her dislike of her boyfriend being able to read some of the German metaphysical classics and his propensity for quoting and reading Carlyle. And the reason I make a point of this is that there was always a very strong pro-fascist and Nazi group in South Australian history. And you see young Clara objecting to it in the 1850 novel of Catherine Helen Spence. Because these are all things hidden in Australian general discourse. Now, let's see. One of the line out of that novel, which I loved so much, was how much of our happiness depends upon the post office. And I felt like hitting the walls of my room when I read that. How much of our happiness does depend upon the post office. Still. Now, Mr. Dutton, in the splendour of his situation, because he came from one of the really wealthiest and most powerful families of our Commonwealth, wrote The Smallest Sprout about his grandmother. And here's a picture of his granny in front of, I presume, a clay earth hut, going back to the time that Helen Spence was writing Clara Morrison, 1840s and 50s. So there is the lady that I'm about to exhort to through her grandson's great poem to her, for her. Does remind me of Walt Whitman at the end. The smallest sprout. A lioness killing a Nubian in a field of lotuses made of ivory, gold, lapis lazuli and cornelian, 4 inches high, found in a well at Nimrud. This torn from the Illustrated London News, from the Adelaide Chronicle, How to Make Whitewash, next a seedsman's catalogue with "This is no good," scribbled under one highly recommended camellia. And in the drawer itself, the scent of the smallest boy needed no opening of eyes to prove it hers. And now, no looking in any favourite place will find her. No telephone ringing at the most awkward moment will yield her voice on mail, a letter with news of the dogs or the difficulties of painting a dying rose. But walk on earth she walked, how much still grows. She was not one to cut a single rose, then watch the whole vast garden die. She died between footfalls in her own house. Would that we could all go that way, I add, as auditor. A widow for 30 years, but never afraid of loneliness, nor of commanding what she thought was best. However feminine, no little woman she knew her place, and it was at the head. A beauty old men did not forget, and the young noticed, which filled them less with sorrow or lust than awe. Since like a judge's robes it symbolised the law, an ordered life of strenuous principle, distrust of ease, at 70 striding on while grown men ran behind, and dedication to beauty itself, in flower or art or action, with nothing but scorn for that self-pity which holds beauty irrelevant to this ugly age.
Yeah, a couple seconds.
Yes.
Oh, well, we can't transpose the thought that darkness compared to light is ugliness or disarray. We must accept the darkness as part of light, must we not? I think that would be a principle of Dutton's granny and of Dutton himself. So here we are, distrust of ease at 70 striding on. Is it still going? Mm-hmm. While I sing along. While grown men ran behind, and dedication to beauty itself, in flower or art or action, with nothing but scorn for that self-pity which holds beauty irrelevant to this ugly age. This was a beauty that soon left mirrors empty, however often it returned to them. Fingers that pressed on piano or violin could knead the compass round the hairs of roots or roll out pastry on a fralauri board. Eyes that burnt as cold as salt in candle flame watched tenderly for the first crabapple blossom. He knew the droughts, the country where they breed, but she had looked beyond mirages of a gibber's plain and dry creeks running like cracks in a steer's skull, towards the homestead where the underground tank always keeps the pure rain water cool. Gorillas through knowing their jungles better than they do themselves. Not only that, she lets the conquered see that she was what they were really fighting for. The earth itself, the swamps of intuition, tropic mountain snows, and the fantastic butterflies over which the solitary woman, trailing her beauty, flies to scoop or flay the snobbery of a visiting Englishwoman, or horse of a just slaughtered fowl. These were her robust and sometimes angry days, but none of us could ever know her nights. After she marked the page in Gibbon with a hairpin and then turned off the light, the widow was a woman. What agony for her never to be comforted. Love's most heroic response is to the 3 a.m. despair. Isn't that a marvellous line? Love's most heroic response is to the 3 a.m. despair. Not in such darkened moods in daylight is daylight any help. Walking away from light, one's shrinking shadow on the wall grows more nearly what one is, till it becomes nothing at all. Death eats what the self has left. Life gone, there's left a kind of statue that will not survive a living day, nor yet be beautiful, uncovered in 1,000 years, like a miniature of ivory and precious stones. It is only the taken body draws our tears. Mortal beauty, once dragged down to earth, is already a praise of life. The grave's no fear. The grandchildren hunting for lizards under the crabapple tree. Smooth ceremonies of black are suitable for strangers and calculated for the praise of death. But for life, any battered detail with a fingerprint will do, like her old car stacked full with flowers, following behind the hearse, as someone said, like the General's charger. There were, in fact, on a hill not far from her open grave, some draft horses grazing, a comfortable old piebald nipping and nuzzling, the big brown mare beside him. The grass around them showed in smallest sprouts the green of May. Wonderful poem. And here's the short story. It's called April 28th, for obvious reasons. Very Australian, even though I say so myself. April 28th. The neon was wonky, but Sam was fixing it up the ladder. We went round, I said. Jeff, it's hit him real hard. He'd missed 2 marches, he didn't want to catch it, so this was a biggie. Bloody COVID. For that moment, the spirit and cocktail bottles, because of the pub's lighting problem, flickered in sign, took on a matte finish and a high modality of sheen, enticement, surface. Bottles seemed to say, don't yell, want me in the cavern of your mouth. Liquor, taste, feel, the bottle seemed to say. He'd served for, was it 2 years in now? All the interior lighting suddenly went. The hotel sign sent slivers of red and purple across the wet pavement beyond the last entrance step. Outside on the facade, the lights were working. Sam called out, "Anchors away!" Yes, he was keeping alive for the 25th. The Anzac March kept him going. He lived for it. We'd arrive at 8:30, we said, and drive him down early. And that's when things got out of sync, I gather. The 2 mates were waiting for the lights to come on. They came on. Words like Cinzano, tequila, Bundaberg, rum, vodka came enticingly into view. Well, I rang him. I left a message on the answering machine. We had been held up. 7, 8 years back, the other said, Jeff, you and I and Sam's brother would religiously do the dawn service. Sam said, well, same again. They both replied to the publican nervously, like ping pong balls bouncing together but without a bat. We've got a taxi coming before closing time. No worries. No worries. No worries, all said. Sam had folded and placed the ladder against the far wall opposite the bar. Where's Dougie? Sam always looked round for Dougie. He usually does all those jobs for you. Sam looked dispassionately towards the ladder. Well, he's taken it hard, Dougie, and Tim were close, you know, even though they'd had their disagreements, father to son, over the whole Vietnam War thing. More son to father, maybe, type. Nodded in agreement, we all did. He didn't know what to say, but said something. I remember the day he told me how he'd apologised to Dougie boy. We both said he told us too. Must have been hard for him admitting it was a civil war, the Vietnam thing. And we should have steered clear of it. Shouldn't have been there in the first bloody place. It would have been appropriate if Dougie had entered at that moment. Just as the rain commenced heavy again, carrying a no war sign and his dad's prosthetic leg. Left leg from the knee down. Victim of a hit and run up the corner from the pub years after the Vietnam War though. Thanks for being there for Dad, mates. The rain was riveleting as Dougie put these words out into the darkness of night. Riveleting from his bushman's cape onto the carpet. He looked peaceful looking out from the veranda. Dad, didn't he, when we arrived? One boot next to his rocker, the artificial prosthetic neat beside the wall behind him with its sock already attached. He seemed to be waiting for us somehow. We looked at each other and Dougie just seemed to be looking at the somehow. He now stood, ladder in hand, but before storing it away behind the bar where he'd hung his moleskins, he said, "Oh, geez," as if he'd walked into that bank of clouds building up northwards, the look on his face, you know, and walked back again. The taxi had snailed very close to the guttering. All his lights were on, and the two friends passed a sheet of instructions over a scatter of used dampish coasters to Sam. Final touches for tomorrow's reception after the cremation, before clambering into the taxi. As they say, let us remember.
Lest we forget.
Oh, thank you very much, Ashley.
We're on the edge
All
of
right,
forgetting.
here we go. Now, poetry. It's all kinds of stuff. It comes from everywhere. It comes from inspiration just around, like, excuse me, Doug. This fantastic one called Lyrebirds that Judith Wright wrote. You know what a lyrebird is? It's that. It's this.
See? It's that.
They're a beautiful bird, and they have this sort of thing, feathers at the back, and they look like the ancient Greek instrument, the lyre. But they're also really lovely because they copy other animals. Anyway, Judith Wright wrote this, and it's the last lines that I particularly love. Over the west side of the mountain, that's lyrebird country. I could go down there, they say, in the early morning, and I'd see them, I'd hear them. 10 years, and I've never gone. I'll never go. I'll never see the lyrebirds, the few, the shy, the fabulous, the dying poets. I should see them if I lay there in the dew. First a single movement, like a water drop falling then stillness, then a brown head, brown eyes, a splendid bird bearing like a crest that symbol of his art, the high symmetrical shape of the perfect lyre. I should hear that master practicing his art. No, I've never gone. Some things ought to be left secret, alone. Some things, birds like walking fables, ought to inhabit nowhere but the reverence of the heart. Judith Wright, well, published, our fantastic writer, published over more than 50 books. One of them that I've got here is just all about bird poetry, so like that. But that particular line, birds like walking fables, yeah, fantastic. All right, well, hey, poetry's about like realism like that, but there's also surrealism, and a movement. Surrealism was an art, but it wasn't just an art, it was a literature. It was a whole way of thinking movement that came in after World War I in the 1920s. So we're in about 102nd year of surrealism. Now, one of the ideas of surrealism, as opposed to realism, was to unlock the potential of the subconscious and the superconscious mind. So you've got these really, how it's most famous for is those creative, wacky images of melting clocks of Salvador Dali, etc. I guess I've written a bit of surrealist stuff myself. However, I was sort of reintroduced to it last week back at the Stradbroke Island Manjera Bar at the Island Vibe there, when I met a young fella, a Russian fella, Ivan Levant, who's just finished his thesis in poetry and surrealism there in Queensland. So I went on a little bit of a journey and did a bit of research myself, and it includes things like automatic writing. So you just put your pen to paper and off you go. Anyway, this is a bit that came out, surrealism. And it's the one for the kids here too, because it can be a bit boring listening to all this boring fluffy stuff all the time. And this will be interesting, so you might want to close your eyes and get taken on a bit of a journey. The stanzas here, they're 5-line stanzas, and it's an A, B, B, A, A rhyming structure. Yep, A, B, B, A, A. So that's the rhyme. A fish, a frog, a pig, and a bulldog lived in a giant gourd with both water and air. Every day the fish asked the dog, "May I plait your hair?" The bulldog replied with his eyes agog, "My hair isn't long enough because I'm a bulldog." The frog hopped off to the butcher shop and ordered a bone. Then the pig began to eat a taxi driver's hat. There was a knock at the gourd door, and in walked a cat that just started taking selfies with all the other animals' smartphones, then proceeded to lay out a barrier of traffic control cones. The two suns became one, then split into three. The moon had absolutely no idea where to go in the hottest part of the Sahara. It began to snow. Here's me, with a Coke bottle lid flying over the ocean free, needing $1 million to stop a monster eating the 11-year-old me. Approaching the giant gourd, "Oh my God," was all I could say as an automatic landing pad appeared. To see if this was real, I pinched myself and pulled my beard. I'm in a lucid dream. I'm sleeping, but in a landing bay. So I materialised a Psytrance DJ and we danced for a night and a day. A fish, a frog, a pig, bulldog, cat, DJ, also me. Called all of our friends and invited them to dance. There were all kinds of animals and people wearing funny psychedelic pants. And when the dance was all over, we flew home across the sea. You might not believe it, but I dreamed surreal and lucidly.
Very good.
Yeah, a bit of a journey there, Doug, eh? Yeah, okay. So, yeah, there's a challenge for you to see how you can mix it up in your mind and just see what comes out. All right. Have you got anything for us? No? Steve? Or Doug? You got more for us? Okay,
Yeah,
Doug, on up. Doug, on up. Yeah.
Get up there. Come on, into it, Doug.
All right.
I'm not political, you know.
Oh, look, you don't have to be.
I know I can win the bloody buzzing. Well, what do I do? Just do a bit?
Anything you want, mate.
Oh, that's a bit liberal.
Leave the scope open.
Just remember there's children, please.
I just, yeah, but I want a dad and the kids in it. Yeah, man. There could be an F word, would that be?
Yeah.
That'd be outrageous.
Yeah, that's fine.
I don't know how to write poems without a couple of F words, because you get passionate. It's not that you want to be rude. Thank you. Well, where's that F word coming from? I don't even remember. Oh, yeah, I know. Okay, so I want to preamble this a little. I'm going to get more shit in me out of it. Excuse me. I want to do a little bit of a spiel on trees. Don't mind. Even at my stage of existence, I'm still planting a few. And they say, what are you planting trees for? The next generation? Maybe we are. Anyway, and I want to share one thing that I learned the last week or two from somebody. And they said, you know, linguistic, whatever. They say the word tree and the word truth grow out of the same ancient root. Tree and truth coming out of the same root. So what I was figuring on was, if I go and plant trees, will I be planting truth? Would I expect an answer?
Yes, you will be.
Wow.
I can tell you will be.
Thank you. Now, I just want to give us a little bit to add to the theme of tree, if you could indulge me. I've got one little poem for you. But this is a book I want to mention. It's called The Outer Story by Richard Powers. A couple of years old, got the awards. It's one of the most powerful books I've read. 5 characters, and it's all about their life, or lack of life, with trees. And I want to read a little short piece, because I lived in this country for a while, northwest US and all this, and I know a little bit of it. I've been in some of the forests and the pines and the firs and the blah blah, but it's a bit of a monoculture compared to Australia. Anyway, there's a lot of country, and this guy, he's one of the characters, and Vietnam's been mentioned tonight. He's a vet, and just to summarise real quick, he does all these sorties. He's a road master to the American Air Force, and he's done a lot of sorties in Laos. Anyway, one day he's flying somewhere A to B, and he falls out of the plane. I can't remember how it happened, or the plane might be coming. Anyway, he's got no parachute. So what happens? His fall is broken by a banyan tree. So he survives. He's quite impressed with the banyan tree. Saved his life. Anyway, he becomes very passionate and becomes a conservationist and sits in redwood trees and all the rest of it. But he gets less and less interested in humans and more in trees. Anyway, let's want to read the last little piece here. He loses interest in normal, and he's an ex-vet and all the rest of it. But anyway, I read this. This is a little bit of what's happening. He's up in the northwest of the US, and he's come across a clear fell. And what they do over there, you go down the main highway through a bush, and you see all the trees. Well, it's only a facade. If you walk through the trees on the edge of the highway, there's a bloody clear field that goes from here to Sydney. They cover it up. Anyway, he's out there trying to replant one of these clearfalls. And he says, any one of these gangly seedlings could push out millions of cones over the course of its life. The small yellow males with their pollen that floats across entire states. The drooping females with their mouse tails sticking out from the coil of scales. A look he finds dearer than his own life. And the forest they might remake, he can almost smell. Resinous, fresh, thick with yearning, sap of a fruit that is no fruit. The scent of Christmas is endlessly older than Christ. And this is the last line, which is a little bit strong, but that's what he's like. He's pissed off and yet he's planting his heart out. Douglas Pavlicek is another Doug going on here. Douglas Pavlicek works a clear cut as big as downtown Eugene. It's in Oregon. Saying goodbye to his plants as he tucks each one in. Little starts about that big. And then this is the italics. Hang on. Only 10 or 20 decades. Child's play for you guys. You just have to outlast us. Then no one will be left to fuck you over. Strong language. Thank you for listening and indulging me. I've got a little fun. Good. Yeah, this I've been here on and off for various reasons. But I wrote this a month ago, and I did send it to a couple of friends. This was written about the 12th of October. We got a friend down the coast who's... Anyway, the poem sort of explains it, but she's been in trouble because she prescribed medical cannabis and the cops landed on her and blah, blah. So I'll read these few lines. She said it helped because I sent her down this before she went to court on the 12th of October. Her name's Emma. And her surname is Stachy and she's got a Ukrainian background, for good or bad, that's what she comes from. Emma. I'm writing this piece for Emma S. She went to school in New England. The winter's cool, she handled okay. Ukraine in her blood deals with cold. A healer she was, helping people all over. Oil of cannabis did the trick when opioids were not working. The cops arrived, enacted the law, they took her stuff. It was pretty rough. Single mum, 3 young daughters, jail and prosecution. This case been running a year or more. They closed Butte Hemp Store in Bellow. Sure. This cannabis tale has so much to teach, and power is long so out of reach. The power of the force it employs, does not heal. Compassion is missing completely. Emma helped souls with care, with love. The method she used did no harm. She stands in the dock on Wednesday the 12th. Her sentence is yet to be known. Let's send her a prayer or whatever you do, a single mum fighting the mighty. Let's ask for some good, not punishment harsh. This strong lady needs much support. They said she broke rules devised by the state. Her innocence shines like a light. Her strength is so right. Her kids do it tough, watching mum in much struggle. Relief's on its way, let the bullies retreat. Help Emma the healer get back on her feet.
Yeah, here, and it's no secret I have very, very, very strong views on prohibition and how suckful it is, and cannabis being medicine.
Here, James.
Thank you, Steve. And that's why I published Poetry to End Prohibition, a whole poetry book. in dedication to Daniel Walmsley, a young man who overdosed because there was no access to safe drugs, and he's using drugs off the street. That's what happens. You get dangerous stuff given to you. He was 26, so yeah, when we end prohibition and adopt harm minimisation and treat people treat addiction issues as a health problem and not a criminal problem, then we'll be in a much better and compassionate world. Yeah. So well done, thank you, Doug. Airbender. I got asked last week, why you got so much energy all the time? Just because it's free. It's free. Make it. An airbender. There's a divine energy that flows through you and me. It's with consistent dedication and focus, and you can raise, and it's called chi. It comes from a geometric connected field and is all around as a source that animates all living things and provides life with a force. It's an internal lightning, and you can move it up or down, absorb it from the quantum field and send it flying all around. Learn meditation. Breathing, get lithe, flexible and light as a master energy bender. You'll spark up in the night, then you can have access to the source that gives energy to me. Unblock, focus, raise, send sparks of lightning called chi. Yeah, this makes me cracky. It's like I've got all these like bits of lightning inside me. There's always cracking. Yeah. Have you got something for us, Steve?
Always.
Always.
James,
All right.
always.
Welcome on up. Come on up. Yeah.
Can I get rid of this podium thing here, James?
Yes.
Yeah,
Make
that
sure you
would
mention
be-
that. There's a hypnotist show this weekend.
What was that?
The hypnotist show this weekend.
Oh, the hypnotist show. Yeah, that will be something really. Let's turn that round then this way then.
Yeah.
And this is hypnosis show with Wayne Donnelly this weekend. So really, if you're looking for a good show at the Australian Poetry Hall of Fame this week, come along. It will be a doozy.
You might not even remember it.
You might not. Hypnosis, eh? Oh well, when we move around the place, I've only just sort of come back in from the north coast, and I've been playing around down around the Mullumbimby area. So I'd just like to say hello to all the people around Mullumbimby that we've sort of spent a bit of time and romanced the town in whatever way we do in our poetic ways and such.
Wonderful Mullumbimby.
Yeah, Mullumbimby, a beautiful little town, known for lovely people and their different gowns. I just happened to drop into Brunswick Hedge yesterday evening, and Year 12 were having their graduation, and it was quite spectacular. It was good.
Madness.
Yeah, madness, but it was good fun.
Madness.
Yeah, and I love to see happiness and joy, because this spark of energy that James talks about, this energy of the source, that's what drives us as we seek our inner self and we realise that we are connected to something amazing, and that energy is all around us, and we can tap into it and be part magnetic in what we do.
The smallest sprout.
The smallest sprout. That's the one, Ashley. I enjoyed your little talk there, but I nearly fell asleep, Ashley. Sorry.
That's
It was quite good, but it was quite long, and and I think that might be not my style at this stage, because I just sort of come in after a long journey. I've been on the road for many hours, many days.
They're both long.
But sorry about that.
They're both long poems of Dutton's.
Yeah, that's
and
good.
they're actually didactic and preachy.
Yeah,
that's what I like about them.
Yeah, they're very.
They are. They're strange.
Yeah. Impact you. Yes. Well, see, you know, my classic line that I always come out with is when you open up your eyes to realise the real eyes and realise the real lies. In this world today we see many lies. In fact, most of what we hear and what we're guided on is lies. So to define the truth, when we hear things like what Doug said there about planting a tree in the truth, what a beautiful way of presenting things, Doug. I really do believe that. Yeah, see, I haven't been around the world, but I've been around the block. I don't know it all, but I know a bloody lot. I don't have a house or a place of abode. I spend most of my time on the side of the road. I'm an outback poet just moving around with my heart in the bush and my feet on the ground. I've travelled this land from the top to the bottom. I've been to the Murray, I've seen the cod rotten. I've travelled from east and I've travelled from west. I've travelled with zeal and I've travelled with zest. We have lots of little poems that we meet, and I like to see the poetry, and I like to talk about rivers. Rivers are beautiful things because they flow, and when we realise they are such a picture of what life is, we realise it's all a tale of a river. It's told by a man in a dream. The dream was inspired by the sovereign, and it's a blessing for you and for me. This river, it enters the ocean, it fresh washes away the saline and the brine. Yes, stagnant waters start flowing, and there's creatures of many species and kind. On the banks of the river grow orchards, fruit trees of many a kind, and they'll produce on a monthly basis as the fresh replaces the brine. You can paddle in up to your ankles, you can wade in up to your knees, but it's better to go right in to be purified, to be washed, and to be clean. I like to see it when poems move, and you know, one of the first poems I wrote was about a river, and I really like those river poems. Near the rambling Richmond River, where the ghosts of cedar barges rise from derelicts and skeletons telling tales of years gone by, of the early cedar cutters who braved the coastal ranges to reap the valued harvest that the massive forest sighed. But the years have passed so quickly, and the banks are now near barren through the mighty Richmond Valley, from Nashua down to Coracai, and the river's seldom used now for transport or for pleasure, and the water's brown and mud-stained as the land gives up the fight. From years of torrential downpours it's caused a land erosion and floods that stole the topsoil that the big scrub held in place. Where once there was an abundance of the fighting Richmond black bass, now from the murky muddy waters comes the catfish and the eel. Yes, Richmond's only one place in this wondrous world around us. The man has taken over and he's stirred the flaming pot. But he'll reap his just deserts though when he plays with Mother Nature. And she says the game's now over and starves the bloody lot. Now that is a viewpoint now that I don't particularly stand in. It's a nice poem, I thought, but I believe for a great future.
You know, very few people have returned to Woodburn.
Yeah, I know these, Ashley, and we look at some of the things that's happened and such, and to me, you know, the Great Divide and Range was there for a reason, mate. But it was many, many millions of years back that something happened. And you know, that was a water base, you know. We have, and you know, I was on the flood-prone land committee in Lismore in 74. And we, at that time, it was recommended that the town of Lismore move to a higher ground. Yeah, so Yeah, you know, these things happen, but, you know, if you're going to camp in the middle of the river, you know, we've been out in the outback and we've always learned, don't pitch your swag in the middle of the outback or in a creek, because you never know if you're going to wake up or wash down the river.
The Aborigines used to, as you know, used to laugh at us from the ridges while we were building Lismore.
Oh, for sure.
They used to laugh at us.
Yeah. You know, it's an interesting little place. You know, we have, and I'd like to do just a little classic that I regularly do, and especially for the kids and all that might be something a little bit, you know, a bit more sparky and a bit more lively than what we normally throw on. See, what about by the sluggish river Gwyder lived this wicked red-backed spider, who was just about as vicious as could be. Now the place he'd made his camp in was this Rusty Jones's jam tin in a paddock near the showground at Moree. Well, near him lay this shearer snoozing. He'd been drinking beer and boozing all the day before and all the previous day. And the cooking of the cookers and the noise of the Showtown spruikers failed to raise him from the trance in which he lay. Well, there came this crafty-looking spieler with a dainty-looking Sheila. They were collecting wood to make a fire. And he said, "There's a boozer. And he's going to be a loser if he isn't. You can christen me a liar. Well, you just stand and take me, honey, while I fan this mug for money, and we'll have some dainty luxuries for tea." But she said, "Don't be silly. You go back and boil the billy. You can safely leave this mug to little me." Well, she circled ever nearer to that dopey-looking shearer, his pockets bulging fast asleep and snug. But she never saw the spider that was circling round beside her. She was too busy with the money and the mug. Well, the spider needed dinner. He'd been daily growing thinner. He'd fasted long and for a feed did yearn. When she darted like a rocket, he bit that spieler's Sheila on the stern. Well, the Sheila started squealing. Her clothes she was unpeeling. To hear her yells would make you feel forlorn. While one hand on the bite was pressing, the other was undressing. And she reached the camp the way that she was born. Well, the shearer, pale and haggard, back to town he staggered, where he caught a train and he gave the booze a rest. But you'll never know the spider that was living by the Gwyder had saved him 90 smackers of the best. Great, it's lovely to see poetry. All people alive have some talent. From where it comes, it's not known. Some sing and dance or act out romance. It's a part of your life like a poem. When telling a joke is your forte, or telling the humour of life, or painting a beautiful landscape, or serenading the friends in your life, yes, talent's a part of our makeup. It comes natural in the things that we do, not always in the things expected, and not always in the things that we choose. Good night. See you.
Thanks, Steve. Hey, look, there's Julie's giraffe.
Julius Giraffe, he's back.
Oh, sorry, I didn't put your podium back.
Oh,
there,
that's all right,
James.
Steve. No worries at all. Hey, all right. Funny thing happened this week. I got a little bit of inspiration, and I wrote 2 verses to the 3rd Julius Giraffe story. And it's about, well, the end of the 2nd one, which I'm about to read out to you, will explain what his 3rd adventure's about. Now, as you know, Julius Giraffe was this giraffe that flew. And as I'm thinking, oh, okay, what am I going to finish off with tonight? Oh, we've got some young people here that like the flying giraffe one. Oh, let's do Julius the ninja giraffe. And then I opened that up, and I discovered that I wrote Julius the Ninja Giraffe basically late October, early November 2019. So 3 years ago on Stradbroke Island when I was over there last. So yeah, 3 years later I've made a start on the third one. But I'm not going to do that straight away. I'm going to start two more. One more. This one is another one just because I've been reading and revisioning my Tao Te Ching book and my Tao's philosophy. Hasn't got a name. No good. No bad. It is what it is, neither happy nor sad. When the mystic masculine yang knows the mystic feminine yin, begets the childish innocence of the Tao Te Ching. The whole universe is between white and black, obscurity and fame, glory and humility. At the end of each road begins a new track. All roads are connected in a network of unity. Umbrellas do more than stop the rain. Breathing deeply increases chi. The righteous never feign. Source is infinite energy. I cannot change the world to conquer it as I see fit. The world will be spoiled. It's not my business to change it. Some things happen slowly and others faster. Some are vegan, eat meat, bread and pasta. There's tall, short, in between, trains late at the station. Letting what you can't control affect you causes anger and frustration. Water has no hands. Water must flow. It doesn't hold the banks. Let the dam water go. The scholar learns more in every way. Give me less knowledge, but more serenity every day. If I need to wait in line, please put me last, so that I can experience life as vast. The important part of each cup is where there's nothing. The important part of a home is where there's nothing. The important part of a door is where there's nothing. The important part of a shirt is where there's nothing. Everything's nothing, and nothing is everything.
Well, I don't know what Mao Zedong would have said about that, but he would have listened.
Lao Tzu.
Mao Zedong.
Oh, Mao Zedong.
What he would have said about it, but he would have listened.
Oh, he probably would have locked me up in like one of those Cultural Revolution camps made me work.
That's a simplification. His mother was a Buddhist. His mother was a Buddhist.
All right, so let's get you on to the final one. Julius. Here he is. He does ninja. All right, yes, he does the splits too. So, yeah, this story is dedicated to my niece Malia Rose, who gave me the notebook that I wrote the original draft in for my birthday. Oh, okay, on the 28th of January, so that's when she gave it to me, 2019. And I completed the story last year, in 2019, the 26th of October on Minjerribah. All right, Julius, the Ninja Giraffe. Julius Giraffe decided to become a ninja. So he started drinking green tea, eating brown rice, green vegetables and ginger. He wrote down his dream and his goals, made a plan to become a giraffe ninja and to travel to Japan. Early every morning, Julius would sit on his knees, meditate, then stretch and study Japanese, practice blocking, punching, kicking and throwing styles, eat raw fish and rice for breakfast and practiced Japanese guitar. He saved every single dollar as a part of his plan to learn real ninjutsu from a sensei in Japan. The baboon yelled out, "Julius, you are a laugh. Who on earth will teach ninjutsu to a giraffe?" "Julius, giraffe, how can you hide like a ninja crouched invisible, your long neck and your backside? A giraffe can't be a ninja, use a sword or fight with sai. A giraffe can't be invisible, do backflips and jump sky high. Giraffes are built for peace and your hide is your defence. Why become a ninja, Julius? You're dense." Julius Giraffe knew what he had to do. So he walked all the way to Timbuktu. Then he took a train all the way to Harare, where he joined a circus that was on safari. The circus was a troupe of travelling sensei from Japan, and he emulated everything he saw and did the best he can. After weeks of travelling, it was time for them to go, so Julius asked his sensei, "Can I come to Tokyo?" His sensei thought about it, and they all agreed that Julius Giraffe was the best ninjutsu student they'd ever seen. In Harajuku, Tokyo, Julius got his mojo as a student of ninjutsu at the Harajuku dojo. He studied Session Teki Kyoyo and spiritual refinement, nature knowing, calling, harmony to see clearly with the eye. He was a peaceful ninja with heart for self and others. He would protect the weaker of his sisters and his brothers. Next he studied combat and became an unarmed master. No ninja ever had punches, kicks or blocks much faster. Then fire, explosive, disguise, and also stealth, sword, spear, staff fighting and defence of self, throwing blades, chain and sickle, horsemanship and weather. Julius Giraffe was like water and one of the best ninjas ever. Then he heard the news from back home in Timbuktu. There was a bully Shaolin elephant who had trained in Kung Fu. The Shaolin elephant terrorised his neighbourhood, so Julius told his sensei, "I'm going to do some good." He jumped onto a plane and flew over Timbuktu, wingsuited to the earth because he was the giraffe who flew. He landed on the ground and found the elephant in the bar, drinking peanut beer and ranting, "Blah, blah, blah. Excuse me, Mr. Elephant, it's time your reign of terror ends. I would like to ask you kindly, please stop bullying my friends." The elephant replied, "Giraffe, you must be balmy. Who's gonna stop you? You and whose army? I'm the biggest boss round here. I squash lions and push down trees, and I'll take you out, Giraffe, with just one kick to your knees." Julius took a deep breath. He was feeling zen, standing like a statue until the moment when the bully elephant charged. Julius Giraffe was feeling pumped. Julius just stood there peacefully, and at the last moment, he jumped. The elephant kept going and charged into a tree. Julius landed on his back and said, "Now you're under me." The elephant raised its trunk around Julius's throat. He squeezed it very tight and he began to gloat. "Giraffe, I am the boss. Are you willing to admit I'm the king of Timbuktu? Are you ready to submit?" The elephant puffed his chest out. He was full of pride. He was not watching Julius, who'd prepared a big surprise. Julius threw a flash bomb which made the elephant cough and choke, and Julius disappeared in behind a puff of smoke. The elephant was stunned from Julius's trick. Julius jumped into the air and did a spinning crescent kick, and in a fraction of the second the elephant was knocked out and all the animals in Timbuktu gave a happy shout. Julius said to all the animals there in Timbuktu, "I am because we are is the way of Ubuntu. And if we work together with the bond of sharing, Timbuktu will be the place of loving, nurturing and caring. His sensei then appeared and said, "Julius, I've been watching you. You've passed the biggest test. The words you speak are true. I thought at first a ninjutsu giraffe would be a big disaster, but you've proven to me that you're a ninja master." The baboon yelled out from the top of the tree, "I'm sorry I doubted you, please forgive me." Julius replied, "Everything's fine. I wanted to learn to play the piano one time, but I gave up because I've got no fingers. So my next goal was to be a famous reggae singer and be as famous as that fella, Bob Marley, then ride across Antarctica on a monocycle Harley," said Julius, the flying giraffe. It was long, but it was exciting and it was adventurous. Yeah, so now we've just got to work out what's going to happen. Is he going to fall down a crack in Antarctica? Is a Yeti going to find him? Maybe he's going to, I don't know, trip over a penguin, I don't know. But there's definitely no polar bears in Antarctica. Yet. All right, well, thank you very much, everyone, for coming tonight. Thank you for readers, for reciters, for Ashley, for Steve, for Doug, for the audience, and everyone out there. Thank you very much too. All right. Good night.
Bonjour.